So thanks a lot for your intervention. That is pretty original for me. That's very interesting. Can you just give us an idea of how many projects do you have in mind that you led with that approach? And, well, what is your success rate, I would say? So I don't know how to put that, but okay, just to have an overview. Is it because you did 3 projects like that and it was a success, or 150? It just sounds a little bit different.
I personally have done a small number. As I say, I started in the 90s. Then when I worked in the pharmaceutical industry, in procurement, I facilitated a number of projects, one smaller, one much larger, for using that method. Since then, certainly one of the biggest bits of research was in Australia. Between 2000 and 2010, over 50 billion, with a B, Australian dollars worth of public sector projects were delivered using this alliance methodology. About 30% of the projects in Australia used an alliance. Not quite how I would do it, but a long way towards that. One of the success measures that I got from that research said, and of those $50 billion, we couldn't find one example of an external dispute. Now, I think some of us were talking about the average cost of disputes in construction, and it's not zero. You know, most legal systems have a special stream of courts for construction disputes because it's that common. So that's one measure. The University of Minnesota did some research into IPD projects that they published more recently and highlighted that across a large number of projects, the vast majority of experienced people involved, 90% plus, believed that the IPD method produced better or very much better value for money. So wherever I've looked and it's been done reasonably well, the comparisons stand up fantastically. Yeah, intuitively, a collaborative team will always deliver a better result than one that isn't.
I'm totally convinced, and it's completely in line with my experience with the old ways of doing projects. So
yeah, and I like the public sector. If the public sector can do it, whether it's Australia, whether Finland in the past decade has also built up and has done dozens and dozens of separate projects using an alliance under the EU procurement rules.
In your projects, where are the architects? Are they embedded in the alliance?
My experience is in chemical factories. We didn't often have an architect for our chemical factory, but our equivalent was in the IPD methodology, which is normally used in buildings. The start point is three members: client, architect, stroke engineer, and main contractor. And they build on and add the specialists directly into the alliance. So yes, the conceptual designer, it would be in the chemical industry, or the technology owner. Yes, that would always be part of the alliance. And what you want to move from is traditionally the architect made lots of guesses to put in the design to get fixed prices. And the architects knew this will never be built. But we've got to wait for the contractor to get selected before we can talk to them and say, right, how should we build this? Because I'm an architect and you know better. So, crazy.
What's crazy is that in France, the law protects the independence of the architects. So they're very proud to build buildings to impress other architects.
Yeah. And they get incorporated. The only difference is the architect can talk to the contractors and say, what's the best way to do this? But then the architect isn't spending their own money. There's still a client there who needs to obtain the value they want. So.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm a strong believer of what you said. My question is, it's mainly the same question for all the purchasing issues. In fact, so you were purchasing manager or the director for big company. How do you explain that we have always strong local optimum, which is endangered generally the efficiency of the whole company in the procurement department?
Well, like Philip said, when I was the boss, I said how it was going to be. So, for example, I didn't use savings as a key measure of how well procurement did. Now, the price that we paid compared to the price last time. Many organisations do that. And you're right, there is sub-optimisation. So I was in the lucky position of having some degree of freedom. You still had to convince stakeholders, but very rarely were those stakeholders somebody in procurement who's got a personal performance measure to do a saving. And if you select on competence, it's harder to measure and easy to measure saving. So you can persuade, but sometimes you'll come up against a blank wall and won't be able to.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to take a break.